The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome in to another episode of Spiritual Philos-O-Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are with episode 43.
Yay.
Wow.
I know. We're getting up there.
Yeah. Well, 10 more and we've in
9
a year.
more. 52 weeks.
52,
in.
sorry, yes.
9 more. Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to a big anniversary episode. I don't know what we're going to do yet.
Oh, yeah. It'll be off the chain.
Party. Yeah, sure.
So what's the topic of episode 43?
This is the psychic realm.
Cool.
Yeah. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The reason why I came up with this idea is because 2 weeks ago we did medium abilities, talking to the other side, used my medium abilities for that. And then last week we talked about animals and I used my animal communication abilities for that. So this week we're going to talk about all the psychic stuff we haven't talked about yet. And I'm going to be able to show my psychic abilities. And I think this is a great way too of teaching everybody what the differences are because, they're all different. They're all a little bit different and we'll get into that.
Cool.
So
awesome.
That's my thought on why I did this.
Great. That's what I was going to ask you to do is kind of explain that for us. Cool. So, but before we jump into that, anything from last week?
Yes. Let's see. So last week, like I said, we did the Rainbow Bridge episode, and I had done a few readings on there for listeners for animals. And this one I want to read. Now, this is from Mindy, and if you remember correctly, Mindy had the 2 cats that died within a couple of days of each other. And that's really all the information that I had. But this is what she said back. Thank you for reading the cats. I'm in tears. So both of the cats died because they had a giant tumor. Wally's was in his lungs and he had one in his stomach and one in his lungs. The doctors couldn't tell me why and just said it was a coincidence. It was almost an instant sickness and death. We didn't even have time to process they were sick. When we sold our old home a few months before, it had tested positive for radon, and we had to put a radon pump before we sold. I always had this awful feeling it gave the cats cancer. Radon comes out of the ground and into the basements of homes. The cats' litter and food were down there. They spent a lot of time down there. I now feel like my feeling of it being radon was right. The cat going in and out of the legs is Wally. He was the most friendly cat, loved everyone.
Wow.
So I didn't know anything about radon.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what you said.
I had said that it was an inhalant of some
something
kind.
They breathed in.
But I couldn't quite figure out what it was. I was thinking of all these different things, and I would throw them out. What valley fever, or what's the carbon monoxide? I even threw out, and I got to know, and I wasn't getting the name back. Well, now I know why, because radon isn't really something that I've heard of. I mean, maybe, but
I've heard of it,
haven't really
almost
thought of it.
Recently, within the last maybe 5 or 10 years, I heard about it.
Yeah.
So.
I had no idea. So that makes perfect sense. And Mindy, I'm so sorry that you had to lose your cats that way.
That's sad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it really is. Something else from that episode that I wanted to mention. So I always listen back to our episodes before I put them online. Mm-hmm. And sometimes things stick out to me. And sometimes I'll be like, that was kind of stupid that you said that. Why did you say that? Well, I've come to realize that a lot of times when I say these things, it's because they are for other people. And last week I realized that between the two of us, we said the number 42 6 times.
Wow.
It is my age, but I am a woman and I don't always blurt out my age. But I feel like this 42 is meant for somebody that listens to our show, like a regular listener, because it is something that I have picked up in other episodes. So if you are that 42 person, it could be 24, but most likely 42, since that is normally what we feel it as.
Right.
The other one, too, that I caught in there was I said a couple of times 5 to 7. Now, why did I say 5 to 7? I said 5 to 7 years old, and I said something else about 5 to 7. And I started thinking about this. Why wouldn't I say 5 to 6 or 6 to 7? I don't normally say something like 5 to 7. So again, I think either as a phrase, 5 to 7, or the number 57, there's somebody that's here for.
Connecting.
Somebody's talking through me. It could be an animal, but most likely a person from that episode talking through to these two people with these 42 and 57 numbers. So I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
If you figure it out and you'd like to message me and let me know it's you, that'd be cool. But I
That
do,
would be wild. Yeah.
I do hear these things sometimes in the episodes. And so I wanted to point out again that if you do connect with something that one of us says in that episode, your loved ones very well could be talking through us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's synchronicity in some form.
That absolutely is. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
Cool.
And then the last thing that I had is I realized that was an animal episode. And with every animal episode that we do, I always give an update on the raven that I communicate that comes here.
The one-legged one?
Yes. Yep. So if you haven't heard episodes before about this, I feed the ravens, and there's one in particular that I've been communicating with, and I picked this one because she only has 1 foot, and so I can tell which one is which. So for the last year, I've been feeding these ravens and communicating with her when I see her outside, and so on every show I give an update. And where I am right now with her is that I have realized that she stays around here. Most of the day she's around here. If I go out and put food outside, she will come pretty much within a few minutes to get the food. This morning I went out to throw them some old fruit salad, and she stayed. She didn't move. It was the first time she let me get that close, but she's letting me get closer and closer all the time. Wow. So I'm hoping one day that, this is a wild raven. She probably will never let me pick her up or anything, but we communicate with each other. I tell her before I go out there, don't worry, don't move. I'm just going to give you food,
Right.
So
I wonder if she telepathically goes back and communicates to them. If she's alone. I mean, I know that there's other birds sometimes around when she's there and you're communicating with her, but I wonder if she lets them know, like...
I think she does.
Oh, this lady's totally cool,
I think she does, and I had mentioned the last time that we talked about it that the boys were all showing up, and that was a first, and... So they're coming more regularly now, too. But I hadn't seen the boys. You can clearly tell the difference.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen the boys at all until a few months back. And now they feel safe. So I truly do believe that she goes back, or even when she's out there, because sometimes other ones will stick around, too. And, they don't fly away. And it's like, maybe she's like, it's okay. She's cool.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a really cool process with this bird. And I'm hoping that I continue to build this with her because, it's just a small step in showing that we really have this kind of connection to anything and we don't have to be enemies.
Right.
Coexist, but you can also be friends with things you never thought you'd be friends with.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
So that's my recap.
All right. Well, episode 43, The Psychic Realm.
Yeah. So... First, I want to talk a little bit about what are psychic abilities and what makes this episode, like I said, different from the last two. Psychic abilities are pretty much everything that we haven't covered yet. Mediumship is talking to spirits. Animal communication is talking to animals. Psychic abilities is connecting to your intuition, to your higher self. It's anything that doesn't involve those two other entities. Mm-hmm. It could be things such as like clairvoyance fit into this category, dream interpretation, crystal ball reading, tarot reading. Those things all fit into using your psychic abilities. Right. Because whether you realize it or not, tarot reading is a psychic ability. Anybody can do it. But it is using your psychic abilities. If you're spreading cards out in front of you and then you're going to go pick a card, it's your intuition telling you which card to pick.
Yeah.
So it really is, it fits into this. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, are those kind of abilities.
Cool.
The psychic abilities. So let's see. Well, I kind of just covered this, but I thought this was a really good question, and I do get asked this a lot, are all psychics mediums? Actually, I didn't cover this question. Are all psychics mediums and vice versa? So what I've come to realize is that all psychics are not mediums, but all mediums are psychics. you need to have that ability to tune in and to tap into the psychic side before you can reach the other side. So if you are a medium, if you consider yourself to be a medium, but you say that you don't have psychic abilities, I don't believe that. Well, I believe we all have them all. But when it comes to like psychic abilities, just them and themselves, most people that just consider themselves a psychic don't talk to spirits. So they're not mediums. Does that make sense? Did I explain that?
Yeah.
Okay. So like for me, I am a medium and a psychic and an animal communicator. So I get it all, which is great. But I honestly didn't know about the medium abilities until most recently. But looking back, I see the psychic abilities. I think we really all, to some degree, have those.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's almost like, couldn't it be, essentially, like for your example, in your case, that you had 2 of the 3,
yes.
Right? And then the third came later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's essentially part of a muscle, or a muscle connected to this whole thing, that you're exercising, you're working. So maybe those people, kind of what you said on the other sense too, is that we all sort of have it somewhere inside of us. It's those that believe and actually tap into it that are successful. You
and I have talked about this before, that for my whole life, I had psychic visions, but I never thought that I was a psychic, because I thought that psychics know everything, that they could tell you anything at any time. And that is absolutely not the case at all. And when I started getting into this work, the thing that terrified me the most was the psychic work. I could talk to spirits and animals all day, but then somebody asked me about their love life, and I was like, but I don't want to talk about it. Now it's like 80% of what I do is psychic readings. I didn't see it going that way, but it is. It's become a lot easier for me. So I really think it's our own minds too that get in the way of, well, what could my abilities be? And if you have those kinds of visions throughout your life, they're not random things that you just like created in your mind. Okay. Even if they're similar things, like for example, on the dream aspect of things, I had a repetitive dream for a long time that I thought was going to be a bomb, like North Korea. I saw this fireball, and I saw me panicking and running, and it actually happened, but it happened in a different way. So this is where like it happened, because we had a fire and I saw the fireball happen, and it was the same kind of panic as in the dream. So these are like, the dream interpretation sides of it, where you kind of have to look a little bit deeper into it, that maybe not everything is exactly what it seems to. I think I got a little off there, but
more often than not, in life, more will be revealed. So if you don't know that meaning of that dream immediately, it comes later.
I always knew that it was a premonition dream, and that's what scared me about it. And I had actually talked to one of my friends about it, and he had similar visions and had seen a flag though. So I think our visions were completely different. But when it happened, it wasn't like I instantly knew that was a dream, but a little bit later I was like, okay, that was it, because I saw hills and I saw me running. I saw me running away from it, but in this case, I was running towards it to make sure that my family was okay. But it was very, very similar, and I just knew that was it. And you know what? That was October, and I haven't had that dream since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Trippy.
So those things all fit into your psychic ability.
Sure.
So if you have those types of things, never slough them off. But also, I think a part of what I was getting to with that is don't be afraid of them, because that dream did terrify me. It really did. But it ended up not being as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Yeah. So let's see. Moving on to the next question. This one, it can be taken 2 ways. So I'm actually going to answer it both ways. How do you know what's legit and what's just your imagination running? So I'm going to take this from both what's legit as far as your own feelings go, but also as far as other psychics go. Like coming back to that and covering how to know what psychic, that type of thing. So you've watched me go through this, and I think you're kind of going through this a lot now too, so you can relate, is that you don't always know. Yeah,
maybe not necessarily at the moment,
retrospect.
There is a lot of retrospect involved. But what's different for me is because of like how it's sort of shaping me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as reactionary.
Right.
So what I'm doing is whatever takes place, I'm giving time.
Right.
And then later that retrospect
Right.
kicks in and I go,
Oh, that's why. Mm-hmm. No, it makes sense. For me, that's been a tough one because I think when you are born with these abilities, it just comes to you naturally. Mm-hmm. But when you have to develop them, or like you, that's it's just kind of slowly happening to you through this process, you really don't know which ones of those visions are real and what aren't. I have actually started keeping a log. Actually, I did this from the beginning. I keep a log, and I can remember too a little bit of like, okay, when I had that vision, what did it feel like? Because that's really, honestly, the biggest difference between determining what is your own imagination and what is real is there's a very strange feeling that I don't know how to explain.
Yes, there is but sometimes I don't recognize that until the retrospect.
That's very true. Yeah, and you look back and you're like, oh, I remember I did. Or you don't want to see it, you know?
Or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Or the thought seems so asinine at the moment.
Yeah.
That you're like, what?
Exactly.
And then it happens.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, dummy, I should have listened to myself.
Right.
For me, those are getting less and less. Most of the time I'll be like, okay, well, this feeling, I had this weird feeling. Again, when it comes to these abilities and building them, it's all about time. It just takes time, and it takes believing in yourself and recognizing those things, and not... Like, for me, when I would have those thoughts before, I would try and push them under the rug. Mm-hmm. But once you start recognizing them and accepting them, it kind of changes the way that they come in and the way that maybe you start to develop and grow, and it becomes easier.
Yeah. I mean, if you're working towards it, it's like, again, a muscle. It's going to get better as you work towards it. I was sitting here thinking, and this is a part of my point, is that we spend so much of our day like driving around, or if we're alone, even if we're not alone, but we're in a building at work doing our own work alone.
Yeah.
We spend so much time thinking. Even when we're thinking about some other task, there's other thoughts that are coming into our head.
Right.
Always.
Yeah.
So if you stop enough and slow down enough mentally to sort of really kind of filter every one of those thoughts, it would be a lot easier, I think, for me personally to recognize them.
Right.
But because it's like I'm not slowing down as much as I maybe could or should if I want to achieve that, that's when I seem to only notice it more in retrospect.
Right.
Because now it's already happened. But the feeling, I can remember the feeling the moment I had the thought. Mm-hmm. And then that retrospect helps me recognize that. Yes. So if I just slowed down enough throughout my day or those moments, I think I would have a better time recognizing the feeling that's attached to that thought that's guiding me.
Right. A part of what comes, at least for me and for other psychics that I know that have developed these abilities, is a little bit of paranoia, because you don't always know what is a message and what isn't, especially at the beginning. And I had to teach myself how to recognize, and the other side has taught me how to recognize the difference between them. And one of the things that I recognize now is that if I'm obsessing about something, like if there's something going on in my life and I feel like it's a message and I'm obsessing about it, it's not a message. They won't be obsessive, and they won't be like, you'll know things, you'll feel things, but the messages won't be like negative and harsh. Those are your own thoughts when they're like,
it's not like that. If anything, it's usually when I find that it's repetitive or naggy, the thought, it's because I'm supposed to do something for somebody else.
This is true. Yeah. And so if you do feel that kind of obsession, I will agree with you that it usually means you are supposed to do something for somebody else, or there is a reason. And it's more of a nag that comes at random times. It's not like you're sitting there thinking about it. It just kind of comes to you,
I always hear it as, I should do that.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I got to take care of finish what I'm doing here, and then I'll take care of that. I should do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard you the first time.
I hate
I'm going to
that.
finish this, and then I'm on to that, and it would just pop in until finally I go, okay, I'll stop what I'm doing and do that.
Exactly. Something that was hard for me, and I still struggle with it a little bit, is that you start to worry about like things that you may see that are visions that maybe have other people in them that they're not for. Like sometimes I'll see things that are going to happen and you'll be a player in those things. And then I start to obsess, not so much anymore, but I used to do that. And I had to kind of recognize that, first of all, they're not going to present bad things like that to me that way. They're not going to tell you that somebody that you love is going to die by tomorrow by showing you their violent death that's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
That's not how it works. I've come to determine that when they want to prepare you for something that's coming, they give you time. Unless there's nothing that can be done to prepare for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it's something that you should be aware of, like there's things that I've seen that have not happened yet, but we know they're going to happen. I just know that they're farther out because the other side's given us time to prepare for those. So that's one of the things that I try and remind myself if I feel my brain getting out of control, is that if this thought that I was actually having was true, they would have been preparing me for this for a long time. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like your own obsessive thoughts, like if you have things that you've obsessed over your entire life, those, if you have like psychic visions that you think are visions about those, they're probably not, because those are your obsessive thoughts, your things that your fears. If you think you're going to die in a plane crash and that's been your fear and you have a vision of you dying in a plane crash, chances are that's not going to happen. That's your own mind.
Right.
So. On the flip side of this question, how do you know when a psychic is good, when what they're saying is good? And I've talked about this a little bit before, but I think before anybody sees a psychic that they should read reviews. They should, at Facebook, wherever, they should get a little sample reading. Don't hand your money over to somebody unless you feel that they're credible.
Right.
Because there are a lot of people out there that will take your money,
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question. How do you figure out how to use your abilities? This is just like anything else. It's practice and it's time, and you can't get discouraged if you're not good at it right off the bat, or that you don't understand it. Because take any profession, like let's take, okay, well, you're an artist, okay? Your art today is so much better than it was when you graduated high school. It's so much better. I mean, I haven't seen art, I don't think, from when you were like a little kid, but your art, it builds over time, right? You weren't just good at it all at once. You had to learn, and you're still learning.
Sure.
Psychic abilities are the same way. At first, you're probably going to fall on your face a lot, but those falling on your face moments are the ones that teach you how to recognize and how to listen.
Yeah.
It's those times, like you said, in retrospect, where you look back and you go, oh, makes perfect sense now.
Well, I think if you really want to be really good at anything in life, you have to do that.
Yes.
So you have to build it. And if you expect to walk into it mastering it like miraculously quickly, you're probably gonna have a very long, frustrating journey.
Yeah. I didn't know.
But if you're open to, like, I always try to approach everything, and I try to be modest and humble. Like, I don't know poop, about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even some of my biggest interests. But I'm open to want to continue to learn.
Yes.
So if I look at music and my own music and go, I'm not a master of anything.
Yeah.
But I'd sure like to be one day.
Yes.
And I'm just striving for that. But you have to take those those moments, even in the down, when you feel maybe criticized or there's a negative element to it, that shapes you, that creates you, that makes what you do better in some level. So
yeah,
you if you're an artist, it's it's great because you can kind of work by yourself, but you're going to get critiqued by the public.
Right, exactly.
If you're a musician, it's great because you're not only going to get critiqued by the public. Before you get critiqued by the public, you're going to stand in the room with your band and take it from your own band.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
you have to sort of develop a tough skin.
Yeah,
and you have to be open.
It's very true
to learn, and that could be applied to relatively anything. And if you do that with that type of mindset, I think you have a much more pleasant experience as you're learning, You
do. And that comes down to patience as well, because I remember when this first started for me that I thought it was just all handed to me on a silver platter, like here's all your psychic abilities at once. And that is not what happened. I've been taking this in stages and they release a little bit more. Now, as far as like my readings and accuracy and stuff like that goes, that's not what I'm talking about. That I've built by having to believe in myself. Mm-hmm. But as far as what they reveal to me and what I know and what I see, that has all taken time.
Yep.
It has all taken time to build, and I am nowhere near close to finished if I'll ever finish knowing everything. So the best advice that I can give is don't rush yourself. Know that this is going to take time, and you do have the time to do it.
Right.
Like I thought at the beginning, I don't want to work so hard at this. When is it going to be that I'm just going to wake up in the morning and I'm just going to be connected? Well, you know what? I am. I wake up in the morning. I start doing readings pretty much within a half hour of waking up.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that before. So it builds. It takes time. So don't get discouraged if, it's taking you a lot of time, because it does take a lot of time.
Right.
It always will. But the more you put into it, the more you get back, too. That's another thing, is that it's like you can make whatever you want of it. You can, if you want it to be a hobby, then you can just put things into it, as you want. But if you want it to be a huge part of your life, whether as a career or just a way of life, you're going to have to put in the work.
Yeah. It's funny because I was thinking, I flashed to sitting with Marina, and I have this interest. I want to play guitar, so you buy her a guitar, and she doesn't really play it that much, but every now and then she gets a spurt, and of this interest, and but quickly frustrated with I can't make my hands move in those shapes like you can, and from one shape to the next, and so I would give her ideas of things, but it's sort of reliving my own life in a way where I thought to myself, I'm never going to learn this.
Right.
I'm never going to get there.
Yeah.
That the posters I hung on my wall, I'm never going to stand on a stage like that.
Right.
With a band, I can't get my hands to move.
Right.
And so it's so nice to look at somebody, especially your child, and say, no, you can.
Yeah.
And I thought the same exact thing as you.
Yep.
But your statement about patience is it's so important, even for me in my own life.
For all of us.
With my own music, I would have had this buttoned up and rolling down the road a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But you know what? That's not what's supposed to happen.
That's not the plan, yeah.
So the more patience I have, I also recognize at the same time that it's better.
Yes,
it's better.
Everything takes time. Like, I don't think I've talked about this at all on the show, but I want to say it was June, I was approached to audition for a reality show about psychics. And, okay, this sounds like a great idea. Yeah. I have no self-confidence in myself yet. I have no idea what I'm doing, but sure, let's audition for this reality show. Thankfully, I never heard from them.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of reasons, but I wasn't ready, but I wanted to push myself. I wanted to think that I was ready. There's still a lot of things I'm not ready for, but it takes time. And really the other big thing is believing in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. In
particular, in regards to that question of how do you tap into this? You have to start with believing.
Yes, not just in yourself, but in the abilities altogether.
Yes, that this is here.
Yes.
It's for everybody. And, is one by one, each person either influences somebody else. And what is it you're doing? Why are you happy and glowing, and you seem like carefree and not a lot of worry? These things trickle down, like a chain reaction. And so as each person in the world gets sort of enlightened to this and what's really going on, they're affecting in so many other people with maybe not even realizing it, and that's the whole idea, is to wake everybody up together, not portions at a time and for only 100 years at a time. It's time to wake up and finally realize, because once we do, a lot of other mysterious things will be revealed.
Yeah. I think that's, we're definitely in an age of enlightenment. And I love doing this show because I love to be able to help people to learn about these things so that they can spread too. Everybody that you spread to, they spread as well, But it takes us as a unit, as one. For sure.
To get there.
So I wanted to answer this question because it ties into the first reading that I want to do. This is, what is the most common question you get asked as a psychic? I get asked love questions every day. It's the most common thing. Everybody wants to know about love. They want to know, are they with the right person, or is their soulmate coming? Or, this is something that I didn't even realize was this big of a thing, as going to psychics for love advice. And at the beginning, I hated doing it. And I told you that it was my least favorite thing to do.
Right.
I don't want to tell people who to love.
Right.
I don't want to tell them who they should be with and who they shouldn't be with. But now that I'm doing them all the time, I kind of feel obligated. And I'll tell you why. There are so many people out there that are obsessing over somebody that's not in love with them.
Right.
Like Lizzo says, he doesn't love you anymore. So take your fine ass out the door. That is, like, I would love to start every reading with that. If you're going to talk to me about somebody that you love that's not in love with you, it's hard for me because I want to see everybody happy.
Everybody wants to be loved.
Everybody wants to be loved,
but
yes.
Not everybody picks the right person to be loved by.
I think that there's a lot of people that don't care if it's the right person or the wrong person, that they're too afraid that they're not going to find the right person out there, that if they let go of what they have, that there's nobody better, or the people that are so down on, I'm looking so hard for that person and I can't find them. Well, I'll give you a tip of advice here from me to you is, if you have to force something, it's not meant to be. No. If somebody loves you, if somebody is going to go out of their way, they'll go out of their way for you. Right. They will make a point to be a part of your life. If they don't do that, if they don't make you feel those ways, if they treat you bad, if they hit you, if they talk down to you, you don't need to be there anymore.
No.
Do you know what I mean? No. There's other people out there for you, is what I'm saying. There's other soulmates. So
ask for it.
Yes.
You can seek it, but you don't have to spend every waking moment. Just ask for it, pray about it, envision what it is that you would dream, like your perfect relationship.
Yes.
I don't mean just the looks. Don't just envision that, but about what the relationship would look like from the outside, what it would feel like from the inside. Spend some time thinking about that, because what you're doing is bringing to yourself what it is you actually really need.
That's exactly right. And I think a lot of us forget that. I talk to girls every day that are in relationships, and it's like, well, tell me what it is about this relationship that you're so in love with that you can't let it go. And most of the time it's just, I just feel this connection. I feel this connection. Well, that's wonderful. That's great. That's a wonderful feeling, but that doesn't mean that that's the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with.
Right.
That person could be a soulmate, but we sometimes move on from our soulmates, especially if they're not meant for us. Yeah. And, it makes me sad, especially women that are in abusive relationships.
I'm totally proof of that. And I may have said this before, but, getting out of my horrible marriage, I
First marriage, not to me.
Yeah. And for a lot of people is a very downer time. It's depressing. It's especially if you have children that are being tugged in the middle of it, you know. But I just remember having moments. Sometimes they were sad and crying, and sometimes they weren't. But just thinking a lot about that. I'm not saying I was being, abstinent. I was out mingling.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't finding what I needed.
Right.
What I really needed. Not necessarily what I wanted.
Yes,
what
it's
I
different.
needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started really getting specific about that and in these moments saying, like, bring me somebody that will love my child, first of all, like their own, and somebody that's going to accept me for who I am, but not just accept me, but push me to excel in the good parts about me.
Right.
So, which was quite the opposite of where I came from.
Right.
And so, lo and behold, there's no irony that I already knew Samantha when she did come back into my life, but it had been a very long time and we didn't know each other really super well.
Yeah.
But we knew each other.
Yeah.
So, and it was exactly what I asked for.
Yeah.
So, and I took, advantage of that at times and questioning that in my mind.
We all do, it's common when it comes to this. There's so many things in love that are really human nature. Like, for me, going through my divorce and then being single, I was single for the first time since I honestly, like 12 years old. I started dating really, really young. And I had never been single before, and I didn't know how to be single, and I didn't know what to expect from men, especially. I had no idea. And the first guy that I went out with was such a jerk. And he was dating 2 other girls at the same time as me, and my psychic abilities actually found that out, funny enough. But I thought at one point that this was the next relationship I wanted to be in, and I was honestly trying to manifest a relationship with this guy. And I realize now that the universe didn't give that to me for a reason, because first of all, I was chasing after him because he was running away from me a little bit.
Right.
Men do that because they like the chase, and if you chase after them, then they pull back a lot of the times. It's a stupid game, but that's what happens. And so for us women especially, as we start going, oh my gosh, well, what am I doing? What's wrong? I got to chase after him and really start chasing. I'm not really, necessarily talking about me here. I'm talking about just in general. I see this a lot. And my point is, don't chase. Really don't chase. And men like the chase too. Mm-hmm. Like, if you stop, like, there's one girl that I'm working with on Shine. I love her so much. She's so sweet. And she was so trying to push this relationship. And I told her, I'm like, just step back a little bit from it. Don't text him. Just let him come to you. And he did. And they hadn't really talked much. And the other day was her birthday, and he took her out to dinner, and he bought her all these things because she stopped obsessing. She started pulling back and letting him see the real her, not this obsessive one.
Right.
So there's my love advice for the day. I honestly feel like a therapist more than a psychic most of the time.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much I can tell you about your love life. Yeah. After that, it just starts becoming about, me therapizing. Is that a word?
It is now.
I don't know. But so let's do a reading here. And I did this one because this is for love. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so this is from Kat. She said, I would love to have a reading done about my love life. Is there any insight you can give me? So I don't have anything else. I don't even have a picture of her, and I'm just going to try and tune into her and see what is going on. So it's funny. Sometimes I know that I put these things together for a reason, because I feel like with Kat, this is a little bit of the issue, is not the chase, but the obsessing in your mind that everything needs to be perfect. Everything needs to be the way I want it to be. And I'm not putting you down. Please no, I'm not putting you down. What I'm saying to you is that I feel that you are not getting the love that you need, whether you are with somebody right now or you're not being loved the way you need to be loved. But the problem is that you're not allowing people to love you, or somebody to love you the way you should be loved, because you're expecting certain things. So you have to, in any relationship, you have to kind of compromise. And if you're always stuck on one type of particular person or one certain thing, whatever it may be, if you're stuck on it, you're just kind of shutting yourself out from something good that may be looking for you.
Yeah.
You know, I have a very good friend that I feel like he really deserves a good woman, but he's always shooting out of his range. You know, you have to kind of stay within your area.
Yeah.
You of course you want to find somebody that you have things in common with, but like, for example, here's a good one. When you and I first started dating, you were a smoker.
Yep.
And right on my dating profile, it says, do not message me if you are a smoker, right? Well, we already knew each other, and so we started dating, and I was like, crap, another smoker, right? But I if I would have said, like, okay, no, he's a smoker, I don't care if I know him or not, I'm just cutting that off right there because of something stupid that, yeah, is it a health hazard? Yeah, it is. Is it gross? Yeah. But you don't smoke cigarettes anymore.
No, I don't.
No. So these things do change. I didn't change that in you. You changed that in yourself. Right. So don't ever, like, what I'm saying to Kat is, if you see these things in somebody and you're like, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, I'm not telling you that you can change them, but I'm telling you that maybe if you compromise and just look a little bit more, that you'll see that there are good things here for you as far as love goes. You just got to give a little bit of compromise is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, even for me, I was always kind of attracted to ethnic looking girl, not necessarily white girls. Right. You know, but
I like to joke with him about that. Yeah. I think I'm like the only white girl really. Well, there's a couple, but not many.
Yes. Straight, pretty much white. There's not many. Yeah. But I didn't close myself to that. Right. I was, again, just like, look, bring me what's best for me, what's best for my child, and what's best for that person that's seeking me, you know, like, so, yeah, I just left the rest kind of open, and it wasn't like that I wasn't attracted to you at all. I just hadn't really, I think the more that, you know, you really get to know somebody and inside, you don't look at the outside. No. You know, especially in a long-term relationship. I mean, I still look at you and I love you and I think you're very pretty and attractive, but I'm looking so much deeper than just a skin level too. Yeah. It's different.
It makes you see somebody different on the outside, because I was definitely physically attracted to you when we started dating, and I mean, I still am, obviously, but it takes on a new shape. When you start to get to know somebody's brain and the things going on inside of them, it makes them more attractive, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's another thing. Don't ever cut somebody out just because of what they look like, because, you know, you never know. And people change. Beauty fades.
It does. I mean, if you're looking for a a long-term relationship, or, you know, something to grow old with, that's exactly what you're going to get. Something to grow old with. Right. Well, you know, face it, we're all going to grow old. Yes. So if you're looking deeper, you're going to be getting much more. You know, like, my connection to you is much stronger. Mm-hmm. So my love for you is much stronger because it's much deeper than the skin, you know.
Right. It doesn't. I feel secure with you with the way that I age. It'll be okay. Right. And there's a lot of women that aren't like that, and that's another valid point too. And I swear, one day we're just going to do a relationship episode. I have a client that's a relation therapist, because I think that there's so many little things here that people don't realize as far as relationships go that are important. Mm-hmm. Totally lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
What was it that we were talking? There was a point that I was making here. Do you remember? Damn it.
About age?
Maybe it was about age. I don't know. Whatever.
It's all right.
Yeah, I do that.
If it comes back,
yeah,
you could share.
I'll go back into it from that. But let's move on to the next question. Anyways, what I was talking about relationship. I would like to do an episode about that one day. Not that we're relationship experts by any means, but I do feel like I've learned a lot in our relationship, and that they teach me a lot, and they teach you a lot, from meaning the other side, and that we could be maybe helpful to people in seeing that, there's a lot more to a relationship than just somebody to love. It's a lot deeper than that. You have to look for somebody that you can imagine yourself growing old with. I remembered what it was. My point really was that when you're in a relationship with somebody, you should feel comfortable about anything. How you look, how you feel, what you say, what you do. There is really nothing that I could tell you that would make you stop loving me.
No.
At least not about my past. If I did something stupid in the future, maybe.
Right.
But you love me and I love you unconditionally, no matter what has happened. We can talk about anything that's happened in our past. There's no boundaries. That for me was important. And I think that should be something for most people that's important, because especially at our ages, we have a whole life before each other.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to communicate with each other and talk about what you've been through and your different things without, some people are so jealous of exes, and it's like, why? What's the point?
And the other thing that I learned a lot with you, and that I've seen other people do in relationships too, is that, whatever happened in your previous relationship, leave that there.
You have to. You have to.
Don't bring it to your next relationship.
No, I have friends that I've seen do that, and they just make themselves miserable with it. That's not the current person. You can't let the person that you're with now suffer because of something that somebody else has done. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's love advice with the Joneses.
There you go.
And Kat, I hope that helped you a little bit, and I would love to hear your feedback on that.
Thanks, Kat.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at the time.
Oh my God.
I know, and I've only done one reading. Okay, well, let's see. I honestly wasn't expecting to talk this much about that stuff, but let's see. I know. Let's see. These are all so good, I don't even know where to start. Okay, why are people afraid of psychic abilities? And there's a lot of reasons. And I'm going to
start with the first one, is because it's something you can't see.
Thank you. And I'm going to lump that in with why don't a lot of people believe in it? Because it's something you can't see. Right. So it's, it's just
trying to convince somebody that, doesn't believe in an afterlife, that you're actually communicating with people that have died.
Yeah.
The people that had actually died.
Yeah.
You're communicating with that same person or people. That you can't never really convince somebody that doesn't want to believe.
No, you can't. Absolutely.
Your freedom is when you open your own mind.
Well, and I think that's a part of why people are afraid of the abilities too, is that they know that it would probably mean they would have to re-examine things about their lives, because a lot of people that come to a psychic, or, that I talk to on Shine even, they come in thinking that this is entertainment only. Mm-hmm. And when I start telling them things about themselves and about their lives, and they start listening and
it's
going,
it's not such a novelty act.
Yeah, it can be really scary.
Yeah.
It can, you just, because it makes you open your eyes to things. And then, I know from experience, before I found out that I was a medium, that I would go to one psychic and they would be so accurate. And for a while, I would be like, oh my gosh, this is real. And then it would fade. You know what I mean? Like over time, I'd be like, no, it's not real, because I haven't seen it in a while. Right. It's very real. I with everything that I am, I can tell you that not only are psychic abilities real, but there are things that I don't even know that I can do that I don't know yet. Does that make sense? There are things that I can do that I never thought I could do. Yeah. There's like mind control is kind of like a thing. Like I can think something strong enough to make you say it. I really can. I've tried it. It doesn't mean I'm controlling your mind. It just means that I'm sending you telepathic thoughts. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that we don't understand and that we don't know. And that's scary. It's very scary.
It is. The power of the mind is incredible.
And then there's people that take it even farther than being scared and say that it's satanic.
No.
Why is it satanic? Because you don't understand it? No, Jesus was clairvoyant. Most of those people in that time had those abilities. Most of the people that wrote in the Bible had those abilities. It's just that people, as
I think the
time
only
went
difference
on,
with Christ is he was trying to explain it.
right?
He was trying to explain what it was, and he was basically saying, we are one.
Yeah,
I am God, you are God, I'm the Son of God, you're the Son of God.
Mm-hmm.
We're all God. We're all extension of God.
right. Exactly.
It can't be satanic because there is no devil.
Right.
You're never going to convince me of that.
Right.
I've been down that road. So,
Yeah.
That's silly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So getting a couple more of these. Let's see. This is a good one. And this actually came from Nisha, and she's another medium. And I get this all the time, so I know she sent this.
Nisha kicks butt.
I love Nisha. She's one of the greatest
She's
mediums. But she gets asked this a lot and thought that it was important to put out there. If I send you a picture of a friend, can you read them for me? So, no. If you have somebody in your life, like let's say that you're dating somebody and you want to know if they're cheating on you, if they're, anything like that, you cannot send me a picture for me to tell you if that's happening from their side. I do not have permission to do that. And you know what? I'm not going to say that I couldn't, because I don't know, because I don't try, because I don't believe that that's the right thing to do.
It's not coming from a pure place.
No.
I'm not saying that somebody that would ask that question isn't being pure in the sense that they're just wanting to know ahead of time, is this person good or bad?
Right.
For me, okay, that question is different.
That's different, yeah.
Send me a picture and tell me what you get about this person. If they're living and it's like a love thing and not a deceased relative, no, I feel like that's sort of taking advantage of your gift.
Yes.
And there's sort of like a code,
Yeah.
Within this community that you don't do this,
Right.
For reason you shouldn't do this,
Right. Exactly. It's very frowned upon.
The reasons should be pure.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that there aren't psychics that do it, because because there's ones that need the money enough that they'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want to do that.
There's that kind of person in every walk of life
Uh-huh.
and business in the world. So unfortunately, that's not the type of person that you want to be. So
Right.
I commend you for that, actually.
There's ethics to everything.
Yeah.
And I have to uphold the ethics here. And that's why Nisha brought that up, is that, we love to read you. We love to read your deceased loved ones. But as far as reading your friends, we just can't do it.
Yeah.
As a
Nisha.
psychic, as a psychic, can I read my friends? I don't purposely. No. One of my closest friends, Chelsea, unfortunately, I pretty much know what she's doing a lot of the time. We're really connected like that.
Chelsea, you can't hide.
But she's also given me permission to read her, too. Maybe she hasn't given me permission to always be connected to her.
What's weird is that I had the flash about her mom, and I wasn't even trying. That just came to me.
Yeah, I think you start to, kind of get those.
Absorb it.
Yeah, exactly.
Through osmosis.
But again, it's not like we're saying, too, that you have bad intentions with this. There are people that have bad intentions. I have been asked, to spy on a boyfriend. Is he cheating on me? What's he doing right now? Who's he with right now? And I can't answer those questions, but not everybody has those intentions. Some people want to know, is my child okay? I really can't go there.
Yeah.
It's why I never dabbled in the celebrities either. It's why, like, when we've talked about those things, I'd rather go to, like, their place, like Walt Disney going to his museum, than bringing, spirits in here. If I go to their place, I feel like I'm in their place, but I feel like if I'm calling them in here, that I'm invading their privacy, if that makes any sense. I know they're spirits, but...
Right.
Anyways, there's just ethics.
Right.
Just with anything, there's ethics. So let me get another reading done. I'm bummed. I wanted to do more of these. Okay, this one is Raina. Raina says, I always feel stuck and don't know what to do with myself. There are times where I feel like I'm just a waste of space, but there are times where I don't think like that. I want to know why I am still here. I have been through so much. I can write forever, but my main question that I want to ask is, do you see me having one more child? This really made me sad, and I wanted to address it because I feel like there's a few things going on in here. First of all, I do feel another child for you in the future, but I feel like you need to kind of get yourself together a little bit more. I feel like when you talk about being a waste of space and these types of things, what I'm feeling is that you have more on this planet than you realize. You have a family that loves you and that you're everything to. And even though maybe they don't show you that all the time, because, you know, sometimes it's every day, you know, you start to maybe overlook things or take advantage of them. But that definitely doesn't mean that you're a waste of space at all. It's the way that you're kind of looking at things. And I understand, because I think we all kind of get into that slump every once in a while where we're like, we really don't know which way to go.
Right.
My suggestion for you right now is, first of all, and I've mentioned this before, that when we stop obsessing about things, that's when those things happen for us. So you worrying about having another baby, possibly even obsessing over that, as hard as it may sound to do, try and let it go a little bit. Try and surrender it to the universe that if I'm supposed to have another child, I will. If I'm not, I won't. I surrender it to the universe and stop thinking about it as much as you can. Put it out of your mind, because once you do that, once you let it go, it happens.
Yeah.
It's a weird way the universe works. And that's not just going for your situation, Raina. That goes for everyone's. If you're obsessing over something, try and just hand it over to the universe. But I think a lot of this just comes down to perception.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Really, you have to look at changing your thought process, and you need to look at keeping your mind more busy too. I feel like you spend so much time in your own head and with those fake arguments and things, that if you spend some more time doing something that makes you happy, that takes your focus off of what's going on in your head and what's going on in your life. Right. And I think that you'll get on a better path. And once you're on that better path, I really think that this baby's going to come your way. And I think it's going to be a girl. That's what I'm feeling.
Cool.
Yeah. How much time do I have?
About
Are we done?
4 minutes. You can do one more.
Let's see. Okay. How do you know your strongest psychic ability? I picked this one because I get asked it a lot. And I think that everybody, it's different. I think that, again, you have to develop that over time and learn that over time. For me, like I said, it's been about 2 years, and I'm starting to hear in my readings that I say I feel a lot. I feel, which tells me that the psychic sense that I use the most is that, I can't remember which clair it is, but the feeling one. I do see things, I do hear things, all of that, but I feel the most. But I'm 2 years into this, and I'm just now starting to realize that. Yeah. So I try to tell people, please don't pigeonhole yourself. Work on all of it. Right. See what comes naturally to you, but work on the rest of it. Because some people, they don't even go for the animal communication side of it. They're just like, I'm just a psychic, and I'm just a medium. But a lot of times, if you put that effort into the animals as well, you can bring that stuff in too. Yeah. You know, people don't even know that. Sometimes when I mentor, I don't give people an option. I'm just going to give you all of it, and then you can see what you're best at, you know?
Oh, it's a good approach.
Yeah. So one more quick one. About psychic abilities are, let's see, what do you guys want people to know about these abilities? And something that I wrote here is that no one is right 100% of the time. And I think that that's very important, because I've had many, many, many psychic readings in my life. And many of them, there have been one or two things that have been off. Those one or two things being off do not mean that that psychic is not a psychic. It just means that they're human, and that sometimes it's hard to interpret the static radio or whatever it is that we're hearing or feeling. It's like interpreting a different language. So just because maybe a psychic is maybe a tad bit off, it doesn't mean that they're not psychic or you shouldn't use them. It just maybe means that there's a reason why maybe they're feeling that, and you might want to pull a little bit more into it.
Right. Or, again, more will be revealed. Maybe it hasn't happened yet.
That's exactly right, too. And that's, very, very possible. I had a psychic that told me that my pet sitting business out here wasn't going to go the way I wanted it to, which kind of stopped me from starting it. But you know what? She was right, because it was way too early. I wasn't ready to start the pet sitting business yet. Yeah. So really what she was saying was, don't do it. When I did finally do it, like 5 years later, I realized why she said that, but my pet sitting business was much more than I ever thought it would be. So I didn't listen to her in the way that I still did what I wanted to do. Yeah. But she was still right, even though I thought she was wrong. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was successful. She told me I wasn't going to be, but really what the point was is it just wasn't the right time.
Right.
So you got to take
And that's
all
your
those things as they
perception,
come.
too.
Yeah, well, that's true. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's cool.
So, yeah, there's a lot more questions here, but I'm out of time.
Oh, man.
I know. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah.
Bummer.
I know you wanted to sit here all day and talk about
Well,
psychic
yeah,
ability.
thank God that we're not paying tons of money for tape.
No.
So
Funny.
we got plenty of more episodes. We can do
Yes.
whatever you want.
Absolutely.
We could do a whole episode of just readings. So
I'd probably be really tired, but that's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll let you decide on that one.
That's a good idea, though.
But that was cool anyways, nonetheless. Thanks
Yeah.
for everybody that participated and
Yes,
brought in
thank you.
questions and stuff.
I'm still holding on to the rest of these questions and still be looking at the rest of your readings, so we'll get to them at some point.
Yeah, don't be surprised if you hear us do part 2s on some of these things.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
cool. Well, before we say goodbye, do you want to share your page?
You can find everything you need to know at my website, SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. Instagram, Facebook, all of it. It's right there for you.
Very nice.
Very easy.
And if you want to check me out, my art, you can see me at djonesartcollection.com or on Facebook and Instagram at djonesartcollection. And Gypsy Brown, gypsybrown.com or Instagram at gypsybrownmusic. And that's it for me.
Wonderful.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you got something out of it.
Sure do.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah, good.
And we hope everybody has a great week. And until next week,
Peace and love.